Hello folks, welcome to the Boneyard / YouTube channel, where we talk about monkeys, midgets, Bigfoot, anything you can think of. Jesus in a 45. Ain't but two things you need to survive in this life. Two things you need. You need Jesus and a 45 to survive in this. Jesus and a 45. You know, we talked about some stories about my brother and such as that, and the stories out of my book, Boneyard / Boys of Boneyard /. If you ain't got it, get it. If you got it, read it. If you read it, don't judge me. It's about my misspent youth. Lots of stories mainly about my brother's, how it all got started, and his antics that he always was doing as a young man. There's Bigfoot stories in there, motorcycles, shootouts, you name it, all true stories. But we're going to talk about Bigfoot today. And anyone who knows me, if you don't know me, Bigfoot enthusiast. Have had my own personal encounters, visual sightings. You're going to call it face to face, just through the brush, in the woods, looking at each other. I'll tell that story some other time. But anyway, that's when I was older. But ever since I was a little kid, you know, first time I ever heard about Bigfoot or seen it on TV, it didn't interest me, kind of scared me. But you know, when I was growing up, no internet. TV had one channel, newspaper. Talked to people at school, folks at church. It's the only information you had, radio. And when you hear about something, when you're a kid and you want to learn more, hey, you can't get no info about it if nobody knows about it anyway. So, I see on TV, I was born in '67. Patterson-Gimlin film had been out a few years by the time I was aware of things in the world. Patterson-Gimlin film is the famous film where Bigfoot's sideways walking, looks back over his shoulder at these two guys out in California. But anyway, I'm probably 5 years old when I see it on TV. Has a little short TV show about Bigfoot, because it's kind of word's getting around. Ain't a lot of people know about it. No details. Fairy tale, you know. Most grown-ups would shun you for, you know, even wanting to think it was real, because you ain't supposed to be scared of stuff. Don't be afraid of things. Ain't no such thing as big hairy critters out in the woods, or boogeyman, or nothing like that, or in your room, or in your bed, or anywhere. Don't be scared of the dark. So that's the way I grew up. But okay, now we got a TV show. I'm sitting there watching this deal. I'm amazed. My dad and mom, you know, we was watching TV one night. Show comes on. Shows the footage. Talking about the two guys. Shot the footage. This big hairy critter walking across in front of them there. They got it on camera. What am I supposed to think? Grown-up says ain't no such thing. Now look here, we got two guys that's on TV talking about it. These two grown-ups. Two cowboys on top of that. They riding horses, toting guns. They serious about it. They said, look here what we found. I'm a little concerned. Alright, check this out. You know, my dad, he didn't want me to be scared, I guess. He's just you know, some guy in a suit, probably. Ain't nothing. They just made all this up for television. Yeah, he's saying I believed most stuff he said. This right here had me concerned. So anyway, I didn't hardly go anywhere without my cock daisy BB gun anyway. I roamed around the woods. I mean, I'm not talking about little pastures and stuff. We had thousands of acres around us, nothing but woods. I was way out in the country. Roamed around during the day, in between doing chores, if it wasn't at school. So I didn't go nowhere without a coyote daisy, but you know, I was pretty sure that would not do the trick. I was a child, but I knew I'd been shot with coyote daisy. I shot my friends with coyote daisy. I knew this was no good against a Bigfoot. Couldn't be. The way they described him, the way he looked, things they told about him. So, you know, best I could figure, you know, I had a plan. Hey, I was pretty sharp as a kid. I understood things. I had me a plan. Any Bigfoot got after me in the woods, I'm going to try my damnedest to shoot him in the eye. At least one eye anyway. And if that didn't slow him down, you know, I'm just going to keep running and trying to shoot him in the other eye. Yeah, that was my plan. Then the movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, comes out. Yep, it comes out the movie. I didn't get to go to movies but once a year. I did not get to go see that movie. But it's in the news. We get a Sunday paper telling what's at the movies. Boggy Creek, The Legend of Boggy Creek. Got a picture of a big monster standing in the swamp, all hunkered down, with his arms hanging down. It's advertised on TV at night about once every hour. It comes on, advertising the movie, clips from the movie. This critter is, you know, he's reaching through windows and grabbing people and supposed to, you know, telling stories about what happened up around Falk, Arkansas. Yeah, I'm a kid, but hey, I'm pretty sharp. I want to know where Falk, Arkansas is. Parents tell me. They're not thinking about why I'm wanting to know. I'm just asking where Falk, Arkansas. They can't explain the other side of Texarkana from where we was at. 2.5 hour drive from where we was at. I get hold of a map. I can read a map. I can't read, but I had somebody show me. I can barely read, but 5. But anyway, they show me where it's at. So it's not too far on the map. So I'm thinking, golly, you know, these boys out in California's got video. Now they got a movie out. Ain't far from me the way I'm thinking. I'm kind of concerned. And then in kindergarten, I'm at school one day, and one of my classmates, we didn't have everybody. I went to Shakota School. Shakota School. That's where I started out at. And we were just a small school. Graduating class, 8 to 12 people. I'm not joking, folks. 8 to 12 people graduating class. Each class from kindergarten on up, you had 8 to 12, 14 people at the most per class. That's not per room per class. That's the whole grade. First grade, whole class, second grade. 8, 12, 14 people. That's all it was. Anyway, like I said, we all know each other out in the country. We all know each other, kin to each other out there. You go to school together, you go to church together, or whatever. You know each other. So anyway, small class. Here, one of the girls over, Celestia Brown, she's talking about her grandpa. Has been down in the Boneyard Slash, which is a swamp down in Shakota Bottoms there. In the summertime, when the water receded and got low, where it was dry enough to drive in there, he was in there, I believe he was cutting logs. Because the water was down, you could get off in there and cut some logs. Him and another man. Celestia's grandfather's name, Paul Brown. Highly respected in our community. If he told you he saw something, he saw something. He didn't make up stories. He didn't carry on. Very well respected man. And him, another fella, saw something come out of the woods on the slash there. Come out of the slash. And they was a good distance away there working. And they had their 2 sack lunches sitting on tailgate of a pickup. And this thing come out of the slash and grab these 2 sack lunches and run back off into the slash. He said it walked like upright, 2 legs like a human being. Said it had hair all over it. It was about 4 foot tall. Something like that. Wasn't just real big. Wasn't no. So, you know, I'm thinking Bigfoot's big. Bigfoot. This thing here's a little smaller, but it still fits the description. So I'm listening to her. And I'm thinking, good grief, now, man, is that in California, Texarkana area, up around Falk, Arkansas? Now we got them just right down the road. I was really concerned then, yeah. kindergarten teacher, Miss Ross, she hears everybody talking, chattering about this thing down there in the Slash. It came to be known as the Slash Monster. The Slash Monster. Because nobody knew what it was. More than one person had seen it. One very credible person. My granddad was a cotton farmer down there in that Dakota Bottom. Back in the old days, yeah, he farmed cotton. And that's back when they was hand picking. Of course, he had 10 kids, so my mom was the youngest of 10, and they all picked cotton. So he down at bottom, he talked about a wild man. Sometimes they would see a wild man in the woods. You know, wouldn't get a good look at him, just see him running through the woods or hanging around or in the shadows. They didn't know nothing about a Bigfoot back then. They didn't know what it was. They thought it was a wild human being because it looked like a person. It was the size of a person. Shape looked like a human, except it had hair all over its body. They assumed if you didn't wear clothes, you would grow hair all over your body. But anyway, old timers called it a wild man when I grew up. We started calling it a Slash Monster. Okay? And I found footprints down there and slashed before that shouldn't be there, but I didn't visually see anything there. But I always was uneasy and maybe a little jumpy when I was down there from the time I was a kid till I was grown up. You know, I was down there coon hunting at night. You down there, you hear a little something, you're looking around. You never know. It's like old Cajun, I know. He said anything you asked him about voodoo or whatever, he said, well, I don't believe in it, but you never know. But anyway, so my old buddy Terry Dollins, he was over at the house. You know, we didn't get to visit very much, but he come over and, you know, like I said, we was about 5 years old. Back then, you had a pocket knife. Your parents back, you're 5 years old, Dad give me a little hand-me-down 2-blade pocket knife. And Terry had one, and, you know, we was out there roaming around in the pastures and the woods and talking about Bigfoot and kind of concerned. And, you know, usually when your friends over, your mom wouldn't let me tote that BB gun around because she knew we was going to shoot each other with it, probably, even though we wasn't supposed to. But anyway, so we was kind of concerned about being out there unarmed. So Terry, he said, man, he showed me, he said, let's get these sticks and let's sharpen these ends like this. Took our little knives and we made us some spears and some sharp sticks. Yeah, hey, we had a plan, folks. We was going to jive him in the eye. Poke Bigfoot in the eye with one of them sharp sticks. One of us going to get away, maybe. And Terry was faster than me, but I was going to try my damnedest to poke him in the eye with a stick, and maybe he'd get Terry, not me. But anyway, so fascinated as a kid, wasn't much, you know, every now and then something comes on TV, not very often. You hear something about it, a little something on the radio, very seldom. A movie had come out, and didn't get to go to movies, so our library at school had maybe 2 books about Bigfoot, but it was Bigfoot and some other stuff. So, you know, didn't take long reading them 2 books. That's the only 2 we had for years and years, so I didn't get a lot of info on Bigfoot. My Aunt Catherine Crook in Paris, Texas, got me a library card, and I checked out all the books Paris Library had about Bigfoot. Didn't have many either, folks. This is back, you know, 70s stuff. People didn't even talk about it. Normal people didn't talk about Bigfoot because they didn't. Most folks got shunned if they did. But anyway, I read all the books I could find on them. It recaps what happens up at Falk and some other parts of the United States. One of the stories that interested me was a guy who got kidnapped by the Bigfoots back in 27, up in the Northwest. They kept him 6 days before he escaped. That's another story, though. But he was a prospector, surveyor. He was working for the timber company. A little bit of all that. But anyway, interesting story. But anyway, so and like I said, I'll get on with my own sighting, some other story. We'll throw that in there. But Bigfoot has always interested me, and as I got older, you know, things happen. See some things, run across some stuff. I wasn't looking. Things just happened. I wasn't looking for them. I promise you, I wasn't looking for Bigfoot. it just happened, and more than once. And we'll do some videos from the cabin up in Oklahoma. Strange things happen up there. I wasn't looking for them. It just started happening. But throughout my life, after I got older, I started recounting all the stuff people talked about at different times that finally I put together. Back then, we didn't know what it was. You thought maybe Bigfoot was all up north in California and Washington and stuff. But start thinking about things people told you. So worked with a fellow named Robert Allison. Robert Allison was a fine guy. Thought the world of a wonderful guy, good friend. He was a Pentecostal preacher and a body man. He worked at the body shop, worked for Jones Automotive, and later on became part owner. But anyway, Robert got my first job in the body shop. He was a swell guy. Always had some stories and something funny, entertaining. He loved Jesus. He loved Jesus and guns and hunting and his family. And one day he was telling me, we were just talking, subject came up, thinking about something I'd seen, thought I'd saw, heard. Robert was telling me, he said when he was a little kid, he grew up Slate Shoals area, which is from the Boneyard Slash, I don't know, probably about 12, 14 miles to the east. But anyway, on the river, Slate Shoals bottom down there. Anyway, that's where he grew up. And Robert, they didn't have a lot of money, they were poor, just like the rest of us. But anyway, Robert's a lot older than me. Robert probably at least 30 years older than me. So he was in his 50s at the time he was telling me this. He said when he was a little kid, probably about 10 years old, something like that, which would be like late 1940s, 1947, 48, after World War II. Times was hard, wasn't a lot of stuff, wasn't a lot of, they were conservative on their food, their clothes, anything else. Times was tough. But anyways, outside playing around, he said, and his sister, a little older than him, seen her headed out behind the barn there. And she had something, looked like a pie. Well, she went around there. Wasn't too long, she come back around and she didn't have this pie. Rob said, hey, what are you doing, And she said, I'm feeding the wild man. Rob said, what wild man? What you talking about? She said, there's a wild man lives in the woods back there behind our barn out there. I mean, folks, they way out in the country too. They ain't got no neighbors. They down in the bottom, woods, thickets, crops. He said, there ain't no wild man out there in the woods. I said, yes, there is. He said, you come with me, come watch. And they took him around there, and at the edge of the woods, back behind the pasture, back behind the barn there, in the pasture, she had put this little pie she made. They didn't have a lot of extra food, but she had taken some pears or something that they had picked and made a little pie and put it on a log out there by the edge of the woods. She said, he'll come get it here after a while. And they went in the barn. And old barns back in them days, they were just slats. They weren't tin barns. They were made out of wood, and they'd have cracks in them you could look through. They might be an inch wide. You could look through the cracks in the barn, old barns. Him and his sister, he told me, he said, they went in the barn, hung out in there. He said, probably wasn't 30 minutes. So here comes something up out of the woods. He said it looked like a human being, except it was covered with hair. He said it didn't have no hair around its eyes, or its nose, or its mouth. Palms of its hands didn't have no hair. He said it didn't look like none on the bottom of its feet. He said the rest of the body had some reddish brown hair all over it, kind of long. But it looked like a hairy human. He went over there. He said they was watching through that crack in the barn. They was hiding, being quiet. and he picked up that pie and ate some of it, and then walked off into the woods with this pie. She said, "See, I told you, that wild man right there. Just wild man living in the woods. Figured he was hungry, you know. Trying to help him out." She said, "I'd seen him back there. So I've been leaving food for him." Robert, he said, it was. He said she continued to do that. She'd leave a pear out there, or whatever they could spare, just a little bit of this or that, a piece of bacon rinds or something like that. They didn't have a lot, but they'd leave a little bit, a piece of bread, pie. Sometimes she'd make a little pie. And he said, that wild man would come and find woods and get it. Leave with it. Didn't hang around. He said this went on for, several months. And then they didn't see him no more. Didn't know what happened. But, it's stuff like that. Grandpa talking about the wild man. Like I said, they called them wild men because they looked human, covered with hair. Didn't know nothing about a Bigfoot back then. But a lot of folks speculate that some places they stay year-round. Some places they migrate through. Some people thought up there on that river where I grew up that they wasn't there all the time. They come through different times of the year, passing through, going somewhere else maybe. Up in them Comanche Mountains where my cabin is, they're there all the time. They live there. I promise you they do. Some folks say there's more Bigfoots in them Comanche Mountains than there are people. They may be right. I don't know. Like I said, I don't go looking for them. They find me. But anyway, that's a little bit about Bigfoot, because I told you we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about lots of things. Jesus 45s, Bigfoots, monkeys, midgets, my book. If you ain't got my book, get it. If you get it, read it. If you read it, remember, folks, don't judge me. But a little tidbit, some historical facts. I like history. World War II. My dad served in the Army, South Pacific, fighting Japanese. Him and both his brothers, my mother's side too, but my father was in Guam and areas like that, and as they were jumping into Japan to try to end the war. Bad deal. They fought for every inch of it. But the last Japanese soldier to surrender or be captured was in 1972 on the island of Saipan, however you pronounce that, Saipan. But anyway, he'd been hiding in the cave since World War II, since the end of it. He didn't know it was over. He was just hiding, staying away from people. But anyway, he was found and captured by some farmers on the island in 1972 and returned him to Japan. He did not know the war was over. That's a long time, folks. So anyway, a little bit of history there, kind of interesting, funny. But we'll have some more facts. We'll have some more Bigfoot stories. We'll have some motorcycle stories. We'll have some midget stories. Probably throw some monkeys in there too. Jesus and a 45. Only two things you need to survive in this life. Jesus and a 45. See y'all later.